Speak to Brad Bauman, please.
Speaking.
Hi, Mr. Bauman. This is Neil Wolf. I'm with thelightreports.com. And I just want to call and ask you a couple questions regarding your representation of the Rich family.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask, are you doing this pro bono?
I am.
You are. And may I ask why the timing of, you stepping in? I guess hadn't seen anything until, I guess, about mid-May of you representing them. What was the motive to wait, 10 months since Seth has been murdered to represent them?
Actually, I would look back even further than that. I've been with the family since last July. I was asked by the family to help them basically 2-3 weeks after Seth had been murdered.
Oh, okay, because I hadn't seen you involved in that, at least in the public eye. Is there stuff out there that I missed on that?
Yeah, there should be some clips going back that far. Certainly, right about, yeah. I'm trying to remember precisely, but no, I've been with the family since July.
Oh, okay. I'll go back and check that because I hadn't seen anything prior to, around mid-May. Now, you were the representative that sent a cease and desist to Rod Wheeler.
No, I was not. It's okay. Lawyers sent a cease and desist to Rod Wheeler on behalf of the family. I'm not a lawyer. I do not represent the family in any legal matters. I am merely here to help them with the large amount of press inquiries surrounding the case. Gotcha. And to help.
Now, the lawyers who sent the cease and desist, were they hired by the Rich family, or are they pro bono as well? Or
that is more of a question for the lawyers. But yes, the family directly hired them. I do not know whether they're working on a pro bono basis or on a paid basis. I assume, and this is just an assumption because, again, I don't really get involved in that level of detail, but I assume that even in a pro bono situation that most lawyers require some sort of what do they call it, a retainer, a small retainer to, represent them. I don't know exactly how that works because I'm not a lawyer.
Okay. And what exactly, will you help refresh my memory, did they demand that Mr. Wheeler cease and desist doing? All investigative activities?
No, the cease and desist is specifically requested for him to stop talking to press publicly.
To stop talking to press publicly about the...
To stop talking to press about Seth Rich and investigations, and exactly.
Now, as I understand it, Mr. Wheeler is a former D.C. homicide detective who, as I understand it, still has, which is understandable, still has connections within the D.C. MPD. And I read an article that he had said that one of his inside contacts there, I think a current homicide detective, had informed him that the investigation had been shut down, and I think he even mentioned that it hadn't come from the chief's office. And I guess the implication there is that looking higher up the power structure in the D.C. government, that it would have come from the Mayor Bowser's office.
That is completely false.
So you're saying that Mr. Wheeler is lying and that detective in the D.C. MPD never told him that?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying that Mr. Wheeler, either knowingly or unknowingly, is passing on about the status.
Passing on false information, you said?
Either knowingly or unknowingly, because I'm not going to impugn his motives. I don't know what they are. But he's either knowingly or unknowingly passing on false information regarding an active criminal investigation, which is precisely why there is a cease and desist order for him to talk to press.
Okay.
He is doing more harm than good.
Okay. What now? In regards to, I've been just trying to dig and trying to find out. In regards to my understanding is that Seth Rich was alive at the scene and made it to the hospital alive, and was sitting up in his bed and talking, and was in the hospital alive for hours. It seems like I need a confirmation on which hospital he was taken to. Can you give some clarification on the post-shooting series of events?
I actually can't, because these are specific questions about an active investigation. For a timeline in terms of what has actually occurred, I do have to ask you to go to the Metropolitan Police Department, because I'm not authorized to speak on that.
Can you at least share with me the hospital he was taken to? Because I've never seen a case like this where it's such a mystery as to what hospital the man was taken to. Why would that be sensitive information in regards to an ongoing case as to what hospital the guy was taken to?
I don't know. That is a question for the Metropolitan Police Department and not me.
Have they asked you specifically not to disclose that information?
No, they have not asked me specifically not to disclose that information. I am not allowed to just simply talk about any of anything that is party to an active criminal investigation. And the reason why I have to be very careful there is because in a situation where there's an active investigation, anything that I do say can be used in either a way to adversely affect that investigation or the criminal prosecution of whomever eventually is arrested for the crime. So I am duty-bound to ensure that I am giving both the family the space that they need in terms of what I'm saying, so that they can get justice, and the police department the space that they need in order to investigate the case. That's what I'm duty-bound to do.
Well, okay.
So I definitely ask you to just direct those questions to the police department.
Well, I guess then my response would be to you that you are implying then, by not being willing to disclose the hospital he was taken to, that activities at the hospital then are part of the criminal investigation? Because
yes, exactly. Because anything that might have been said by Seth Rich to criminal investigators are a matter for the investigators to follow up on, to investigate, to follow through on, and to otherwise figure out if they can directly lead to who murdered him. So I cannot talk about that sort of thing.
So I guess what you just did disclose, though, is that you verified that Seth Rich was alive and had the opportunity to speak to investigators after he was shot.
All that I confirmed with you was that he definitely was not pronounced dead until a few hours after he had made it to the hospital. And
do you know the time of death?
That is a matter that has been reported in the past, is easily verifiable.
Can you just tell me the time of death and where he died?
I will, again, not talk about anything regarding that. And I am sorry. Wait, hold on. Please, allow me to just say this.
Sure.
I am very, very sorry if that leaves you with the impression that I have something to hide here. And
I don't have that.
It kills me. But I can't talk about that.
I don't have an impression at all. I'm just trying to determine. I've never seen a case where we can't even effectively determine what hospital the man was taken to after being shot. I've never seen a case like this, and I'm trying to understand why that's so hard to determine.
I hear your frustration. Take it up with the police department.
Just
Just pick up the phone. call the police department.
Well,
Call the police department.
I spoke to the detective, one of the two homicide detectives on this case, a month or several weeks after the event occurred. And so I don't have a whole lot of confidence in gaining much information from those guys. But I'm just one of the reasons I'm asking about the hospital, and, you know, of course, these things, you know how full of crap there is, some, you know, stuff on message boards and stuff. But apparently there was somebody that wrote on 4chan who claimed to be, yesterday, claimed to be an attending surgeon.
I saw that.
The hospital that he said is Washington Memorial, and that he attended to Seth Rich's wounds on a surgical basis, and then was not able to. He is asserting that that then the wounds were not life-threatening. There was a minor wound to the liver and to the bowel area, and he indicated they were not life-threatening. They were treated surgically, and that then he was essentially cordoned off, and that he, as his surgical physician, was not even allowed to see him, and only one other physician, along with police officers, were with Mr. Rich at the time.
Hold on one sec, because I actually know what you're referencing, because it showed up in my tweet stream, and I do want to.
I can read it to you if you'd like. I have.
Read to me what was said exactly.
I will. 1 second. Let me just run back to my desk. I've got it right here.
Sure.
Okay. Says that this was posted by RHOTYJAG, some uppercase, some lowercase in there. Fourth-year surgery resident here who rotated at WHC, Washington Hospital Center, last year. It won't be hard to identify me, but I feel that I shouldn't stay silent. Seth Rich was shot twice with 3 total gunshot wounds, entry and exit and entry. He was taken to the OR emergency where we performed an X-lap and found a small injury to segment 3 of the liver, which was packed, and several small bowel injuries, pretty common for gunshots to the back exiting the abdomen, which we resected. 12 centimeters of bowel and left him in discontinuity. Didn't hook everything back up is what that means, with the intent of performing a washout in the morning. He did not have any major vascular injuries otherwise. I've seen dozens of worse cases than this, which survived, and nothing about his injuries suggested to me that he'd sustained a fatal wound. In the meantime, he was transferred to ICU and transfused 2 units of blood when his post-surgery crit came back negative 20. He was stable and not on any pressors, and it seemed pretty routine. After 8 hours he arrived, we were swarmed by LEOs, law enforcement officers, and pretty much everyone except the attending and a few nurses was kicked out of ICU, disallowing visiting hours, normally every odd hour, 1 a.m., et cetera, et cetera. It's not something we routinely do. It was weird as hell. At turnover that morning, we were instructed not to round on the VIP that came in last night. That's exactly what the attending said, and no one except for me and another resident had any idea who he was talking about. No one here was allowed to see Seth except for my attending when he died. No code was called. In other words, like a code blue or whatever when somebody's red flatlining. I rounded on patients literally next door, but was physically blocked from checking in on him. I've never seen anything like it before, and while I can't say 100% that he was allowed to die, I don't understand why he was treated like that. Take it how you may. I'm just one low-level doc something fishy, though. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of his statement. I got to say, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but whoever the heck it is, if they're a fraud and they're not really a doctor, they sure did their homework in advance as far as the medical terminology goes.
No, sure. And I mean, like, listen, you know, it, like so many of these other things, yeah, this definitely sounds like something that could be plausible, but I don't. First off, you know, have you called Washington Hospital Center yet?
No, I have not.
Maybe you should call Washington Hospital Center and see if they will confirm any of these things. Okay? I need, like, honestly, like, it is so important for me that we get the facts right on this, that I don't know, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, to ensure, like, for instance, you know, I need to figure out what I'm allowed to say in terms of even what hospital he was in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this, because there are some who speculate that, and, you know, I think what a lot of the controversy forms around is that Seth Rich was a Bernie Sanders fan, and that Seth Rich was disgruntled at the way in which the DNC, some would feel, unfairly treated Bernie Sanders in the primary process, and that Seth had access to the DNC's email database, and that he was indeed the person that leaked that information to WikiLeaks. What is your take on that? Is that a possibility, or is that something you feel
zero
has absolutely been disproven?
It's not just positively disproven, but there is zero chance that is true.
Do you have evidence that backs up that statement you just made?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Evidence
number one, that the laptop has never left the family, that it was inspected by both the family and by the Metropolitan Police Department, that there was absolutely no evidence whatsoever that he was ever in contact with anyone at WikiLeaks or anyone associated with WikiLeaks at any point. Number two, that his job...
Hold on one second before you move on. So you're saying that the Rich family actually still has possession of Seth's computer, and that the D.C. police and the FBI never had possession of those?
And that the FBI has never been involved in this case at all.
Right. Okay. I'm just clarifying. So the D.C. MPD never took possession of his personal computer?
No, the D.C. police and the family inspected the computer. The family had possession of the computer.
So the D.C. police and the Rich family sat down and inspected the computer together, but the D.C. police never actually had full possession of it to do, forensic work on the computer.
After it was determined that there was no evidence that linked Seth or his job to anything that to link him or his job to the murder in the eyes of the Washington Police Department, the family was given the computer back.
Okay. So DCMPD did have possession of the computer for some period of time, days or weeks.
Not weeks.
Days.
Okay. Perhaps days.
Okay. So what you're saying
in that period, yes, that there was absolutely no way definitively that the Metropolitan Police Department did anything to that laptop.
Okay. Do you think
I am definitively knocking that down?
Well, do you think, though, it's one thing, that he didn't have and I'll take that at its face, that he had no communication with WikiLeaks or a middleman or anything like that through his PC. But that certainly isn't the only means by which we communicate these days. Is it not a possibility, considering, Seth's access to those emails? Is it not a possibility that he communicated with either a middleman or WikiLeaks themselves through other means, or through a third party?
It is not just unlikely, but is almost impossible, based on everything that we know, that he would have had any access to those things, and certainly
that he would have had access to the
Hold on.
Well,
and we know 100% that he did not have access to those emails.
So you know that he did not.
A 100% certainty that he never had access to any emails from the Hillary campaign, from the DNC, and then I do apologize. I don't mean to cut this off, but I'm going to have to take the call that's coming in right now. He never had access to any email of the DNC, the DCCC, which we also hacked, John Podesta, the Hillary campaign.
Well, Podesta's email wasn't hacked. He was phished. He gave his own password up to somebody.
Sure. But my point is that he never had access to any of this.
Okay. Well, now, let me make one other point, please, that I've seen,
Sure.
that I have seen people say, and I'm not sure if this was you, and I'm sorry, I can't recall who I've seen quoted as saying this, but basically that it's shameful. Oh, I know who said this. Miss Brazil, Donna Brazil. She said it's shameful that people are implying that Seth Rich may have done these email leaks, and it's a shameful way to leave his memory, etc. And I've seen some folks come back and say, wait a minute, that's not shameful. If the guy was actually a Bernie Sanders supporter, and he which a lot of people feel like Bernie Sanders was, not treated fairly in the primary process by the DNC, and Seth felt that way, then I don't think it's shameful either that if those are the facts and that he felt that was the case. I don't see it as a shameful act for him to release the evidence that shows that his candidate was not treated fairly by his party. So what is your take on that? Because I don't see that as shameful. I see that as an act of courage and honesty and integrity.
So, yes, the truth is, and here's the absolute truth, if everything that you just said were the facts, if indeed he was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and if indeed he felt as though he was duty-bound to do this, and if in fact he had access to these emails, and if in fact he had access to the right people either through an intermediary or whatnot, that he did this, then you are absolutely correct. That is a principled act. But guess what? He was not a Bernie supporter. He did not have access to the emails. He did not ever get in touch with anyone with WikiLeaks. He simply did not have every one of those conditions that you just said. And so those conditions, and let me tell you something, I think that, you may or may not know this about me. I'm a very lefty guy, dude. I don't know how much you research the work that I've done, but as of last year, I was taking on, and just between us, I was taking on Debbie Wasserman Schultz for her support of payday lenders. I've been going after some of these folks for a very long time.
Right. They're bags.
A lot of them are, okay? That's, again, off the record, and I trust that because we're talking very honestly, please,
I hear you.
Please, because I'm talking very honestly with you, I hope that you accept that in the spirit of what I'm doing.
Yes.
Nothing, as somebody who is as liberal as I am, and I'm not ashamed of that, that there is nothing that has shown me in any way, shape, or form that he either believed this way, felt this way, or acted this way.
So you don't even think that Seth was a Bernie Sanders fan?
I don't.
Okay.
I absolutely do not.
Consequently, he was a Hillary Clinton supporter. Is that correct?
He had been offered and was on the precipice of accepting a job with the Hillary campaign.
Gotcha. Well, let me ask you this about this Kim.com guy. What do you think his motive would be in saying, hey, I'll come to the U.S. and show my evidence and this and that Seth Rich was the WikiLeaks guy? What is his motive there, and do you think he's completely lying?
A, I think he is completely lying.
Okay.
B, I cannot speculate on his motives because that wouldn't be fair of me either. But what I do think is that he is lying and that he knows he's lying, which is why, by the way, he didn't provide any evidence. He refused to provide any evidence. And I suspect that the reason why he has since, while he's not backing off, he certainly has gotten a lot more quiet over the last 2 days. I suspect that the reason why he has is because he himself understands that that he doesn't have anything and that he is exposing himself to further legal liability by the family if he were to continue down this path.
Okay. Not to rehash, but to go back to the whole thing of, okay, this was a shameful act. Was the cease and desist order by the law firm on behalf of the family, was that issued because the family felt like that if Seth had indeed released those emails, that would have been a dishonorable act?
No, the cease and desist order was issued because the family, let me backtrack that. Let me not backtrack it. It's this simple. Because the family and Rod Wheeler had a pretty ironclad non-disclosure agreement about any facts about or theories about the case were to be directed to the family and law enforcement only, and that Rod Wheeler is in breach of that non-disclosure by having gone to press without the explicit approval of the family. That's why the cease and desist order was issued.
Okay. Has anybody in the DNC been in touch with you or in any way influenced the way in which you're representing the family?
No.
No.
They have no influence in what I do. Period. Dot.
Okay. Now there was some words.
Wait, with that, listen. I've been on the phone with you for 40 minutes.
I know.
Man.
You've been very your time. One last question, please. Mm-hmm. That is, as I understood it, there was, and I saw this report a month or two ago, that there was video footage, security camera surveillance video footage of some nature that captured the crime and the crime scene. Are you aware of that? And can you elaborate on it?
I am not, and I refer back to what I had originally told you, which is that I am not allowed to talk about anything pertaining to the criminal investigation or active evidence involved in the investigation, and those questions really should go to the Washington Police Department.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
And you still feel like that's you're sticking with what the DC MPD is saying, that they still think it's a botched robbery? Yes, and now I really do have to go because it's Joel on the other line, and I take his calls. All right, fair enough.
I'm sorry.
Thank you so much for your time. All right, Mr.
No
Bauman.
problem.